About it this way, the championship team that Paul Pierce was on won with really only two players outside of the starting lineup in Eddie House and James Posey. And yet this team has got a lot of depth, but it's a lot of young depth. The biggest pick me up would be Gordon Hayward. We're talking about him potentially being ready to come back at the end of March. He's looking pretty good. Jared Weiss saw him at the game and tweeted out that he was walking around like somebody who had two good ankles. So it sounds like he's, obviously there's a lot of healing to be done in that ankle. It's not like running and jumping on it, but we're not even halfway through February. I mean, even if he's able to lightly jog by the beginning of March, you have to think that there's a shot he's able to come back and play some minutes in the postseason. That'll be the biggest pick me up, but I do think it wouldn't be a bad idea to have some insurance. It's really not going to have any impact, again, as it's been the last couple of years, on their draft standings with their biggest pick for next year. So why not go after it as long as it doesn't cost much?
Yeah, I mean, in retrospect, they're not giving up that first-round pick now. It's just we're waiting on the buyout if it does happen. But Ainge does like having a draft pick every single year. All but 2 years of his career, he has drafted a player in the first round. That's why you heard speculation that they trade Smart for another first-rounder to flip to Memphis. But that ultimately didn't come to fruition either. Smart's value wasn't that high around the deadline himself. But I like Smart better on that second unit than I'd like Evans. I still think people are down on Smart because of the whole picture incident. Disappointing shooting this year. But his defense is as good as it's ever been. I still think he's a vital cog on that perimeter defense that they have going. And I think they have a pretty good chance to re-sign him this summer at a very good deal, which you wouldn't have gotten with Evans. Evans would have been a pure rental. If you did give up Smart, you would have been giving up a player, possibly a long-term player with this team. I don't think he's going to be a long-term player with this team. This summer is probably when he gets
What do you think? 10 million for Smart at this point? Do you think he bottomed out in value because of this cut in his hand and having the hissy fit and not really improving any of his shooting percentages?
His value is very close to its rock bottom at this point. I don't think a lot of teams with room are going to use that room on a big offer sheet with some of the other free agents who are floating around this summer. The Clippers in particular were a team that came out with cap space that I said, all right, maybe they'll be a team that reaches at him, but I don't see it anymore. I think their ambitions are still higher than that. And in the meantime, Ainge can throw a deal at Smart, a fair deal in the early days, just like he did with Avery Bradley, and then try to stick with that. And then if he does have
Oklahoma City showed some interest, though. Oklahoma City showed some interest at the trade deadline.
They don't have cap space,
obviously from the area, but they have no room. Well, it just depends on how things play out, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they could have cap room. John, do you think there's any truth to the interest in Marcus Smart other than him having just grown up in the area?
I'm sorry. Interest
from OKC.
Oh yeah, no. I think there's some. I think there was a need once Roberson went down that they needed somebody to fill that defensive, take the other team's best scorer piece alongside, Paul George. When you go against Oklahoma City, when you're in Oklahoma City and you're going against the Golden State Warriors, you need guys like that. But whether or not I think you're right in terms of the market. I mean, I think you see Lou Williams sign a deal, 3 years, $21 million. I mean, that and a TL option on the third year. There is a massive correction coming to this market for free agents. And Marcus Smart's value, he was looking for north of what Evan Turner got, north of what, Kelly Olynyk got. He was thinking $18 million a year. And you just may well take that one away. And he's going to be lucky if he gets $8-9 million in this market for a guy who's not a starting guard right now. I mean, and it's hard to argue that he would be a starting guard in most teams. So I think he ends up signing here. I think he gets a short-term deal and stays here for maybe $8 million a year for 3 years. It becomes an Avery Bradley type deal. And I think that's probably the best thing for the Celtics and the best thing for Marcus Smart going forward, because I don't think anyone values him more than the Celtics do.